Yeah, like I said, that I've dealt with people who've gone through abusive relationships. I've been able to get people out of the abusive relationships and giving themselves some self-love and self-care, and they now realize their true worth and are, well, some of them aren't in relationships, but others have found very loving, supportive relationships as a result, and they
Great.
have said that they won't ever go back to that place. And I don't, and the satisfaction when you see that penny drop, like, call me sappy, but I get so excited. I'm almost skipping along the road, because just seeing that change in someone, you can't put a price on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
and it's, I feel honored to be part of that journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Having your client have a huge breakthrough like that, it's kind of like the feeling a parent has, I think, or a teacher or something.
Well, long story short, she is now going out. She goes and has meals with her boyfriends at the pub. She goes and does her own shopping. And I'm so proud of her. I mean, this happened a few years ago, but just seeing how she stepped out of her comfort zone, and I can't say she particularly enjoys it. Like she doesn't ever go, "Yay, I'm going out." But the fact that she
All right, great. Welcome everybody to another episode of Define Your Purpose. And purpose is the birthplace of ideas. And I am really excited to be welcoming someone who has built an amazing life coaching practice out of personal experience. And she has a background in social work that is remarkable. A lot of good things happening with her massage work and her artwork, and so much energy there. So I'm really pleased to have somebody like this on my show today, out of St. Leonard's, England, in the UK. Welcome, Frith Lawson Johnson.
Hi, it's really lovely to talk to you.
Thanks for taking the time. I'm really glad to have you here. And I like to ask people how they got into what they're doing currently. I know you've had quite a career lead up. Did you think that you would be a coach ever? And what made you arrive at coaching?
So I know we've spoken briefly about this in the past, but when I was 13 months, I got hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain, and a third of my brain got squashed. I was told I'd never achieve anything. I would basically be almost this vegetated individual. And I understand that that's like nearly 44 years ago, but I just had this innate desire in myself to prove people wrong. And I'm not too sure if you're familiar with something called neuroplasticity, but certainly when I was younger, that wasn't something that was overly talked about. But I was adamant that I wasn't going to become my label. So the fact that I was labeled with special needs at the time, but I was basically patronized at school. And I thought there's got to be more to this. And I was so adamant that I was going to prove them wrong that I just kept on plugging and plugging, reading books, going over stuff, researching stuff of my own accord. And through determination, from being told I wouldn't get any qualifications at all, I got my GCSEs, I got my A levels. I went on to do a degree and had the great satisfaction of meeting a tutor who didn't believe in me and saying, "Would you like to come and see my art degree exhibition? Thank you very much." And I did admittedly have a bit of a sarcastic laugh, but there's nothing like proving somebody wrong in that respect. and being able to say, you didn't believe in me, but you know what, I believed in myself. And so with all of that, I ended up going and working with people who had mental health problems, people who had profound disabilities. And given my experience, I was able to notice the subtleties. I could see that people who were unable to speak could understand, where people were going, oh, don't listen to them. They don't understand what you're talking about. I would make a point of interacting. I'd make a point of taking part in exercises with them, even if it was just a ball game and the ball just went into their lap. I started to see this this language, their own personal language and way of communicating, and I really wanted to take that on board. And so I did that for 25 years, and I realized that the sector that I worked in, it's almost like you're not allowed to care any longer. And if you do care too much, you're being told you are getting too involved. So I decided that I was going to learn coaching. As a coach, I can work through my own remit. If somebody wants to achieve something, I can spend as much time as they want me to spend, helping them to understand how they got to the place they've got at, and what they can do to change that. And like I said, I do trauma reframing. I get people to use their vulnerabilities to a power, and realize that there's so much strength underneath all of that, like baggage, if you like. People don't are scared to delve in and are scared to actually get to the root of the problem. But I get them to realize that every bit of work that they do unraveling, they get stronger and stronger, and that they should be so proud of themselves for doing that.
That's great. That's awesome. I love that. So you found this from surviving your own trauma as well. Is that right?
Yeah, and I after I had all of that, so I thought like the universe had given me enough lessons. But then 3 years ago, I got cancer, and
Wow.
I had breast cancer. I had 4 operations. I went through chemotherapy, had to go through radiotherapy, and as strange as it might sound to say, whilst I would never go and whilst I would never choose to have gone through cancer, I actually think it's one of the most um, empowered things that I've experienced. I am thankful for
Wow.
cancer, because cancer has just taught me what a strong woman I am, and how much I have garnered as a result of pushing through that. Um,
Awesome.
and I now, like, my people might say, oh, it's a miracle, like you've been really fortunate. I don't believe it is a miracle. They have proven that if you're stressed, if you are constantly focusing on the negative, then your immune system gets affected by it, and so you're more likely to get things like colds, headaches, all those kind of things that only exacerbate what it is that you're feeling. And through reframing my thoughts, I made cancer a positive journey. So when I went through chemo, I had this bright red, um, like syringe almost, where they were pumping it into me, and it was really quite scary. And I could have chosen the option of saying red symbolized danger. I've got this huge bloody da, um, and yeah, I fear whatever. But I didn't. I said red is my favorite color. Red symbolizes love and passion. I am feeding myself with love. I'm going to get over this. Red is a color of warmth. I've got this. And I just kept on saying it. And my consultant is someone called Peter Schmid, who is a professor of oncology. And when I first met him, he said, he gave an analogy, because he's German and he lived near the Alps when he was a kid. He said, Frith, this is going to be a long and arduous journey. He said, but the best analogy I can give is when you start to walk up a mountain, you walk so far and you go back down. And then you do it the next day and you realize you're slightly higher. And he said, and before you know it, you're at the top and you're waving that flag of triumph. And then when I had my operation, they look at your margins, and the margins are to see if there's any cancer there. And I had none. And he said to me, you didn't just walk up that mountain, you climbed up it. And he said, I've never seen anyone have the response to chemo that you have. And I believe that your positive attitude played equal part to the treatment. And I was so emotional. I just thought, for somebody who's a professor and is obviously looking at the medication side of it, for him to say, I believe that your attitude through this journey has played equal part. It's a really profound thing.
Yeah.
And so it just gave me even more reason to show people who might not believe in themselves, who might get easily affected by the thoughts of others, but you know what, you can do it. You've got so much potential. All you've got to do is believe in yourself. And if someone doesn't believe in you, then change the environment. If they don't believe in you, then they should be believing in you. And I question why they're there. But the only person who can really do it is yourself. And even if you go and do a degree, for instance, and you don't get the grades that you wanted, you've still won, because prior to doing that degree, you have learned so much more information that you can take on you with other journeys that you take forward in your life. So you've still won. It might not be your desired outcome, but there is nothing to lose as a result of it.
Yeah, I would agree. I like that that kind of reframing, like that kind of mindset is really important, I think.
It's essential. We are bombarded by so much negativity. Everywhere you look, you turn on the news, this is happening, that's happening. With the war around the world, all that kind of thing. And it's very easy to get bogged down by all these things that are out of your control. But you can create change within your kind of like sphere, your like immediate sphere. And sometimes by doing stuff for yourself, you inspire other people to do other things. It's just like sending out this positive energy around. And if people see positives and see the positives that you're doing, then like, even if they were doubtful of it to begin with, they soon start to think, you know what, if she can do it, then I can do it. And it's not a magic wand. It takes an awful lot of effort. It takes a lot of determination. But by golly gosh, is it like satisfying when you get to the end. And it also makes people think about the way they judge people. If you go, look, I've done this and you didn't think I could do it, it makes them actually start thinking about their own behavior, but without you shoving it in their face.
Right. Yeah.
That makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like you help people with mindset mostly. Is that what you would say?
Like I said, I would call it reframing mindset. So an example I actually gave to someone today is because I've done a lot of work around domestic violence, and obviously there are a lot of issues that go with that. And when someone's almost having to recollect what's going on, it can be quite traumatizing. But what I get some people to do is acknowledge the past and move forward, and even take up things such as boxing. Boxing is like by doing boxing, you are getting stronger, you are getting physically fit, you are taking out all that negative energy that has gone on. But you are, if somebody has been hit in the past, you're using punching, but you're using it in a positive light. Does that make sense? So you might be doing something that people consider as violent, but you're not. You're just finding a productive way to use that frustration, that angst, that anger, and in the process, you're garnering confidence and strength in your body, and you're realizing how much of a fighter you are.
Yeah.
And so it's turning that pain into power. Like we spoke about when we first got talking, when somebody said to me, with my cancer, I hope you survive, I went, yes, you can, sir. Yes, I can, sir, rather. So for me, cancer isn't a negative word. It's the answer to quite a negative question. And now it's not I can, sir, it's I have, sir. But cancer will, like 1 in 2 people get it.
Yeah.
And people are still a little bit, the C word. But with half of the population going to get it, we need to create a positive attitude towards it. We need to go, yes, it is scary. Yes, it is a journey into the unknown, but medication is getting better. There are more holistic therapies out there to support people, and I don't need to be frightened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, like that's another way of like looking at something head on and turning it into a power.
Yeah. That's just what I was going to say. I love how you've turned it into your biggest triumph, that you're using it to help people now.
Yeah.
So awesome.
I'm going to be doing a talk in May, and where I write poetry. I wrote 3 poems about my journey, and they're quite dark humored. And I think dark humor, when someone's going through it, is often the way people do it, because you can't be completely chilled about it. But I'm doing this talk to show people that it's okay to not be okay, but it's also good to find strength through adversity.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Someone, I lost my father to cancer, and I went to a lot of the support groups that they had for family, and I really got a lot out of the discussions there, and talking with people mostly about resilience and mindset. And I think that can make a real difference when you then are able to apply that to the principles of that to other aspects of your life. So
Most definitely. There was a Japanese philosopher, and he did an experiment on water. And the idea, when they got Buddhist monks to chant on the water, and some of they did it through a whole list of emotions. So there was hate, there was anger, there was just general sadness, and then there was love and harmony, and like all these different words, but they did it in exactly the same setting. They had the same people, the room temperature was at the same level, and all of the positive words came out symmetrical. For most people, symmetry is something preferred, as opposed to like a discombobulated mess. And so when these words anger came up and all this kind of thing, it was fractured. It looked angry. And there have been so many since that particular experiment happened. They have since replicated it with rice, and they have done it with plants. And there's been a few schools who have done the test with kids, where they've had a plant on one side and they've instructed the kids to be horrible to it, and then a plant on the other side where they've instructed like love. And each time that plant has wilted and died that received negative stuff.
Wow.
So it's to me, it's proof that words matter. If you're feeding yourself with love, then you are healing yourself from the inside out. It's not a woo-woo thing. Words are energy. And if you are feeding yourself with love, then you are prepping yourself for something bigger and better. But if you are giving yourself negative self-talk, you are reaffirming what you don't want to actually affirm.
Totally. I think that's a big part of coaching too, that like you were saying earlier, that in a clinical setting, you aren't supposed to care about the individual that you're providing for. But I think coaching is kind of the opposite in that way, that you're supposed to be caring about the person, that you really believe in the best part of them to come out and come true. So
100%.
That's what you're getting when
it's one of the reasons why I don't do programs. People say to me, have you got like a 12-week program? And I say to them, well, I have, but it's individual to you. And one day I will create a program that people can pay for and they can go ahead and do it. But for me, I got into it because I care and I want to help that person along the journey. I want them, like with the work I do, I say to them, they've got 15 minutes that doesn't cost them anything each week to be able to send me a message and reflect, going, am I understanding this properly? What do I need to do? Because I feel stuck. And then I go, oh, that's not as difficult as you think it is. And then tell them what it is. I don't want to just be handing them out forms that they can print from a PDF. I don't want to be giving them some kind of like relaxing soundtrack that I tell them to listen to every night before bed. If they want to do that, that's absolutely great. But I'm like, this is a really profound journey. And I think that people should be treated on a very individual level. And sometimes you can be stuck for weeks and then out of the blue, something pops into your head and they're like, that's what she meant. And the satisfaction when you see that penny drop, like, call me sappy, but I get so excited. I'm almost skipping along the road because just seeing that change in someone, you can't put a price on that. It's I feel honored to be part of that journey.
Yeah, totally. Having your client have a huge breakthrough like that, it's kind of like the feeling a parent has, I think, or a teacher or something.
It really is. And I think that there are some people that do it because, let's face it, there are a lot of coaches out there, and at one point I think it was quite fashionable. But I think unless you get that spark and that sense of happiness through the joy of other people progressing, then like, why are you doing it? And like, if I could do it for free, I genuinely would do it for free, because of just knowing that you're helping someone that hopefully for a lifetime. Like, I love doing my massage. My massage is great, but the fact is a week down the line, their back hurts again, or their legs hurt. When you're working with someone's mind and you know that they're 100% committed, then like that is a lifetime thing. And so knowing that you're working the long run rather than doing it for a short term satisfaction, is a really lovely feeling.
Changing belief and mindset really makes the lasting impact like that, I think.
Somebody came to me and they had seen a psychiatrist or psychologist, I can't quite remember, for about 3 years. And it was a friend I'd actually seen to give him a treatment, and he then passed my name on. And they saw me for 3 months as opposed to 3 years. And then they said, I don't mean to upset you, Frith, but I don't think I need you any longer. I hope you don't mind. And I said, of course I don't mind. The fact that it's taken like, well, I don't, how do I calculate it? Instead of it taking 36 months, it's taken 3 months. So it's been 12 times faster. I went,
Right.
that means everything to me. Like I'd rather my clients left because they didn't need me rather than because they couldn't afford me.
Yeah.
Like, and if I can do it in 3 months, then I feel like I've provided a good service. The idea that someone would have to stay with me three years later, I'd feel like I was failing at my role. So yeah, I don't ever get upset about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you'd want the client to get past hopefully the dilemma that they hired you for help with, but at the same time, I like to think that I'm progressing in my own learning and my own coaching, that I can help people with more issues as time goes by. So I think it's, when you're in the
Definitely, and
business
I
of
do always leave
sharing.
the door open. Yeah, when somebody says to me, I don't think I need you, I say, well, if at any point you feel like you're stepping into old behavior, then please get back in touch with me and we can do a sporadic session, because a lot of the time they've learned those core principles, but sometimes it's just one little thing that they realize they're falling back into. But if they only need to see me once every 3 months or once every 6 months just to keep themselves focused and on track, that to me has got to be a lot better than them just shelling out money and not really seeing any noticeable differences.
Right. Well, your program is called Training Your Inner Dragon. Maybe you can explain the name a little bit.
I think that we either have a monkey on our shoulder or we have suppressed anger. There are things that annoy us, and sometimes people can do things and we don't always understand why we get so angry about it. And it's always, people always say, oh, don't get angry about this, like calm yourself down. But anger fuels whatever it is that you need to do to push forward. So I say to people, acknowledge that anger, understand, why is it that I'm so angry about this? Is it something that somebody has said when you were a child and you are making some link back to then? But when you just keep on suppressing and suppressing, I actually call it the Milfoy effect, because it's like 1,000 layers of detritus. You get one and then you get another, and before you know it, you've got like a metaphorical fossil of issues that you have to chip away at and work out which one came from where and la 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 la. So I encourage people to connect with that and work through the anger. Don't ignore the anger, work through it. And each one of us has got a dragon somewhere. Like, that's, no one can ever turn around and say that they have never been angry about something. And if they do, they are talking utter codswallop at the end of the day. Then, like, and whilst we have to respect society, you can't be walking around the town centre shouting this, that, and the other. You're probably going to be looked at in a funny way, and PC Plod is probably going to turn around and say, "Why are you doing this? Such and such. It's really it's not good." But at the same time, I say to people, if you're too positive, if you're continually positive and you're not acknowledging the stuff that is really rubbish, then you're basically in la la land. If something is going on that is awful and you're like, don't want to see it, I'm going to stick my head in the sand, like it's not there because I just want to be happy, then that's no better than being angry all the time. And I say to people, life is in a state of flow. I live right across from the beach. I'm really fortunate that St. Leonard's, it's a beach, coastal town. And so I can look across the road and see the waves going either completely mental or see the sea as still as a mill pond. And so whenever I do meditations with people, I say to people, be more like the sea. When you're feeling angry and you can feel those waves crashing down on that shingle shore, acknowledge this is my anger. Like, I might have been wanting to see my mate, I might have been wanting to go out for a coffee, but right now I need to work out why I'm feeling so angry. And I need to tell people that the most respectful thing to do is to just keep a bit of a distance. But if I need to talk, I know that they're there to support me. However, when you're feeling really positive, embrace that warmth and do those things that you like doing, and show people that, like, just how much they mean to you. And people will begin to understand the ebbs and flows of you as an individual. And again, like I said earlier, if they're expecting you to turn up when you're really miserable, when you're depressed about something, if work really isn't a supportive environment, if they're expecting you to put your happy face on and go out and go, yeah, I'm fine, when you're actually not, then you should probably question the people that you have in your life. So yeah, the whole dragon thing is about acknowledging your emotions, facing them head on, and then embracing it when you're on an upbeat trajectory.
Yeah, that
Because I
makes a
think
lot.
people just are scared of anger. And I think that there is something, well, it's talked about a lot these days, something called toxic positivity, where you're encouraged to be positive when actually you're not feeling very positive. And I certainly wouldn't want any of your listeners to get my reframing confused with toxic positivity. What I tell people to do is to realize what it is that is causing them the trauma, and then find ways in which you can overcome that trauma through strength. But you should always acknowledge it first. If you're not acknowledging it, then you can't take those next steps to move forward in life.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great. I mean, these are all messages from your subconscious too. I think that's kind of like the part of you that was there before the part that knows how to talk. Like the part of you that was there first. I think that messages from your feelings are those messages, and I think that those messages are sacred because they're from that part of you that is maybe deepest. Would you kind of agree with that, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And this kind of leads on to something that I'm really passionate about, and I've got a blog in my website, and it talks about my experience of working with people through domestic violence. But something that I'm really passionate about is male vulnerability, and the connection to this is the deep inner psyche. Men still are told, because I've worked in environments where they've been told to grow a backbone. This wouldn't happen to them if only they grew a backbone. And so subconsciously, even if men want to show feelings, they feel that they can't. And it is getting an awful lot better. I realize that. But there is still that kind of thing where I've had clients turn around and say, you're the first person I've been able to talk about this with. And I said, well, why don't you talk to your wife about it? Oh, well, I'm like the man of the family, and so I should keep it all on my shoulders. And I'm like, pretty sure if you spoke to your wife of 20 years, she'd want to know so that she could help you. Oh, I don't want her to deal with that. Like, yeah, I'm a man. And it's like, really? Like we've got all these things in place for people, like other people, but something, for instance, is if a guy is going through domestic abuse, there's not many places that he can go to for support. He can go to his GP, whilst there aren't enough places around for like people full stop. I realise that there will never be the amount of spaces for the amount of people who need it. But yeah, guys, well, apart from staying at their mates, where the hell do they go in the event that it's happening to them? And so, like, there's that deep entrenched psyche of, I need to be like this. I can't be that. I can't cry. And like, I can't show anger. And that, when you've got all of that going on and you're not even aware that you're consciously doing it, because it's a societal subconscious thought, it's yeah, it makes it harder to be able to reach out and get the help that you need. And so for me, I've always actively, I do it for anyone, doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, but I actively promote my services to say that this is a safe space for men to talk. I will not judge you. I do not see you as weak. Actually, I admire you for stepping out of your comfort zone and going, actually, I need some help. And I have been criticized for that, because there are a lot of people that think that I should be flying the flag just to females, but like, we should be doing it for everyone. I think that's inherently really important, to break down those subconscious thoughts that they have been brought up to believe.
Yeah. Everybody ends up with these voices that maybe, in their upbringing were at one time productive, but it just turns into this kind of echo in your mind that keeps your behavior the same, and it no longer applies anymore. It's almost like I think people need somebody else who's on the outside watching the way that they're acting and talking and their mindset about what they're doing, to realize a lot of that it's
Most
so
definitely.
ingrained from the social cues and habits. So how do you then help somebody break through that much conditioning?
I do a lot of meditation. I do a little bit of inner child work. With inner child work, I'm basically trying to get them to connect with their subconscious, but I try to make it, if you tell someone to connect with your subconscious, they're like, you what? So by doing inner child work and say, remember a happy thing that happened to you as far back as your memory will go. And I something that I very big on is encouraging people to play again. I'm not saying like pick up dolls or anything like that, but like there's a lot of people who have forgotten how to do anything other than adult. So I'm like, when they talk about I don't playing with Lego, I'm like, what's to stop you doing Lego now and creating something really cool? And if you want to jump in a puddle, go and jump in a bleeding puddle. Just because you might be 40 doesn't mean you still can't jump in a puddle. And if someone behind you thinks that you're daft for it, then maybe they should be joining in jumping in a puddle.
Right.
And so by taking away that conditioning that we've just been talking about, getting people to think, well, obviously we all have to pay bills and we have to go out to work and stuff. But again, it's been proven that if you don't take life so seriously, and if you learn to play again, in whichever way you connect to, you're going to get a satisfaction from doing something that you enjoy, from feeling those happy hormones, getting all those endorphins going, because you're doing something for you. And so it's kind of like all part of the process. So I also get people to do some artwork if they connect with that. Combining words, I'll say to them, what words crop up when you think of this? And they'll write those words down, and I'll be like, well, why are those words coming up? And I often get people to write down a list of positive words and then a list of negative words that they associate with whatever the issue happens to be. And then as part of the reframing, I say, I want you to come up with a positive word that has a similar meaning to that negative word. So as an example, I was always told I was stubborn at school. You're so stubborn. Why won't you do it any other way? And I say to people, just because it's somebody thinks I should be doing it doesn't mean that it's right for me. So I say, I'm not stubborn, I'm determined. And determination is it's associated with a far more positive outlook than stubbornness. Stubbornness, it almost suggests that you're someone that won't even discuss whatever it is that someone thinks you should be doing to begin with. And I'm really not that type of person. And so by people coming up with more positive words, they can look at it in a different light. Because if they're so used to people being negative about their stuff, then it's difficult to see the wood through the trees. And so the process of doing it means people start to become more connected with themselves and actually realize I'm not all these negative words that people have been saying for years. And it's like digging the foundations. Say to people, you have to dig the foundations, and sometimes it feels like you're digging and digging and digging and not getting there. But when you've laid out all this stuff and you've learned to find positive words through the negatives, then everything seems to grow or build that much quicker. Before you know it, you've built yourself your own metaphorical castle that you feel really proud to have created.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So I wonder if any great success stories come to mind that you've had since you started working with people exclusively the way you do.
I have one person who is agoraphobic. She was really fearful of going outside, and there was all sorts of stuff surrounding it. And there was a long period, like I've been saying, where there was very little movement. And then, she wouldn't even go into her backyard. And then all of a sudden, we started doing work, like trying to plant flowers in the garden. And then, she smoked. And so she would then go and, instead of polluting her house and making the house smell of cigarettes, she was then going outside and having a cup of tea. And then, from me doing it with her, she was then doing it on her own and messaging me, oh, I've just spent an hour doing this. Well, long story short, she is now going out. She goes and has meals with her boyfriends at the pub. She goes and does her own shopping. And I'm so proud of her. I mean, this happened a few years ago, but just seeing how she stepped out of her comfort zone, and I can't say she particularly enjoys it. She doesn't ever go, yay, I'm going out. But the fact that she does go out, the fact that she's built up friendships, the fact that she is able to have a meal outside without being self-aware of other people is absolutely fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah, like I said, that I've dealt with people who've gone through abusive relationships. I've been able to get people out of the abusive relationships and giving themselves some self-love and self-care, and they now realize their true worth and are, well, some of them aren't in relationships, but others have found very loving, supportive relationships as a result, and they
Wow,
have
great.
said that they won't ever go back to that place. And I don't think you can say you won't ever, because you don't know always what's going to come around the corner. But the fact that they have developed a self-love that they had originally said they could never have, again, is something that I'm really satisfied with. I'd say another story, there was somebody who had really severe epilepsy. Now, as I said earlier, I've got epilepsy as a result of the brain damage. And so I'm, whilst I make it very clear that the coaching is about them, I am very open about my own story, because people have said to me they feel they can talk to me because I have gone through stuff, and it's not just the qualifications I've got, but it's the fact that I've done it for myself. And so when I say I empathize, I genuinely mean I empathize. And the person I was supporting was scared of going out again, because in case she had a seizure. And
Right.
and so I said to her, why would you want to put your life on hold just because you have seizures? I've had seizures out in public. It's not great. But if you are so fearful of going out, and stress is often a big factor in seizures, provoking seizures, then the fact that you're not going out isn't actually helping, because you're still stressing about what if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
like, oh, I've got to go to the shop and I've got to go and get the milk, and what if I have a seizure? And so the whole day then stressing about that what if for the 10 minutes that you're going to be out. And so we worked through that for about 6 months, and she now goes out. She's trying to get back into work again. Again, a really satisfying tale to
Yeah.
tell. And every time I see her, like, I wave and sometimes give her a big hug. And it's just so joyful to see people finally believing in themselves, because that's what is in common with all of these things. People are starting to believe that they are worth it, that they can do it. And yeah, that's a huge thing. And I don't even think that they fully recognize that triumph.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Those are giant stories. Those are awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing those. Do you help people reach higher too, and achieve goals? Do you help people with goal setting? And have you had much noticed much with that?
Well, I mean, with the people that I just spoke about, they had multiple goals that they had to work through.
That probably
Self-confidence,
came after
build,
this.
yeah, build, yeah, building a self-confidence, building resilience. Those were all kind of like little goals. And
Okay,
then
I
like
see.
the bigger goal, like with this person who's now finding work, like she always thought she'd never find work. So her goal that she then felt able to do on her own was to find a job that she would enjoy and not fear other people's presumptions. Because like I've had people judge me because of my epilepsy. And in my mind, given the way I've been, it's not for them to judge. I'm not going to restrict myself because of someone else's ludicrous judgment. And so that's kind of what I passed on to her, was like, you might not see this person ever again. Why should their judgment affect your decision to empower your life and do something that you're talented in and truly love? So
Yeah.
I don't, because I haven't seen her since that last time, I don't know if she's achieved her goal yet. But what I do know is every time I see her, she's smiling and laughing. And so she's certainly on her way to it if she hasn't achieved it already.
Awesome. That's great. I I like how you emphasize helping people find that daily joy as well. That can be just as important and fulfilling as focusing on the long term too.
Completely. How many times do you walk down the street and you see someone who's looking really stressed and feet to the ground and they're just getting from A to B? And every time I see somebody who's smiling, I go up to them and say, you've got a beautiful smile. Thank you for smiling. It's made me happy seeing you smile. Or if I see them wearing something that's really funky that fits with my kind of like bohemian vibe, I'm like, wow, that looks absolutely amazing. We talk about the negative so much. Even if you're a positive person, people that like it's
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, it's easier to find the negatives. But I hear people say, I'm embarrassed to tell somebody that I like that jacket, or embarrassed to tell them that they've got a beautiful smile and it's actually made my day. And so, like, I'm very much all about doesn't matter if someone thinks you're weird for it, just say it, because that could be the difference between someone having a lovely day or a really rubbish day. And yeah, when you smile, when they smile, you smile, and you make someone else smile. And I think particularly in our current climate, it's so important to focus on those little things and just enjoy that little minute of happiness that someone has given you. And something I also say to people is I get people to think of 5 things that they're grateful for. And people say to me, but I don't have anything to feel grateful for. But do you have a roof over your head? Yes, I have a roof over my head. Do you have a bed to sleep in? So as opposed to the floor. Yes, I have a bed to sleep in. Do you have food in your fridge? Yes. And by the end of it, I'm like, well, you've not just got 5 things now, you've got 10 things. Like, stop
Right.
trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, homelessness is rife, I think, all over the world. And so if you can't be grateful for the fact that you don't have to sleep rough, then we've got an issue there.
Mm-hmm.
And so by getting people to connect with the simple things and realize that it's not all about the Ferraris, it's not about having a 100 grand job a year. That's great for some people, but
Right.
knowing that you're safe from the outdoors, I think you should be really happy and grateful for that.
Yeah.
So we just need to get some reality going somewhere
Not living
and
in a
stop
war
thinking
zone
about
or
what. Yeah,
all
yeah,
kinds of things you can be happy about.
yeah. And as soon as I've said that to people and they take that away, they're like, thank you for just reminding me of what it is that I have got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you acknowledge those things as well, you also start to acknowledge other things, like
Mm-hmm.
gratitude almost is the more you're grateful for stuff, the more happiness comes to you. It's like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They say you are the people that you surround yourself with. If you're around happy people,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to notice more things that make you happy. If you're around
Right.
miserable people, you're going to be constantly thinking of the things that you haven't got or haven't
Mm-hmm.
achieved.
Yep.
So I try to create those spirals of positivity. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Gratitude is so powerful. There's even studies about the difference it makes on the body.
Mm. Yeah, the name of that guy that I was telling you about is Dr. Emoto. So if any
Oh,
of the people in your podcast
oh,
want to
great.
look him up, Dr. Emoto was the person. I couldn't think of him at the time, but yeah, very interesting study and certainly
Yeah.
worth a read or a look at on YouTube in regards to the impact of words in your life.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. And where can people get a hold of you? I mean, where is a good place to have a talk or?
I
I'm on
have a
LinkedIn.
website that is www.tamingyourinnerdragon.co.uk. I'm also on LinkedIn, which is where we found each other.
Yeah.
And they can type in Frith Lawson Johnson. My thing will come up with my business name. Profile pic is what I meant, sorry.
Mhm.
I have a Instagram page that
Nice.
has Taming Your Inner Dragon, and I
Okay.
also have a Facebook page. So, but I don't tend to use Facebook as much as I did because
Okay.
I didn't find that it was like garnering the right individuals.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Great. So, Gesundheit. So someone can come in and get in touch with you for a free consultation, or how does it work?
Yeah. Um, I have a 30-minute free consultation. When people go onto my website, it has got a page where people can create times, that they can pick the right time that they want to talk to me. Um, Within that 30 minutes, we just have a discussion as to whether like I can provide the right service for them. And from my side as well, it's about people being prepared to commit, because
Mhm.
coaching is not a one-trick wonder. You can't spend 100 quid on a session and then expect to go away and be
Mhm.
fixed. It's
Right.
unfortunately not like that. So it would be talking about the level of commitment.
Mhm.
I have a um, agreement that people have to sign and agree to. Um, because there's no point in me feeding people with information if they're going to go away and do nothing.
Yeah.
People have to be prepared to work on themselves. Um, yeah, first and foremost. So yeah, that would be done, and then we would schedule a weekly hour session,
Mhm.
and we also do like a WhatsApp kind of like chat for like 10-15 minutes midweek, just to check that that person isn't having difficulties.
Mhm.
So it's
Nice.
not too difficult. But yeah, it's got
Mhm.
prices, it's got various options. I do coaching calls over video, um, kind of like we're doing. But if people are nearer to where I am and want to make the drive to me, then I'm also happy to do it that way in person as well.
Awesome. Nice. Excellent. So what are you excited the most about this year coming up? Um,
Um,
Besides helping a bunch of new clients, maybe.
um, well, I'm still on medication. I've got 2 months left of my medication that
Mhm.
it was like it's an immunosuppressant. It's not a chemotherapy, but yeah, it
Mm.
basically clears up any cancer cells that haven't quite gone. So um, the 11th of January, I finished that. I'm
Wow.
completely done. And so the medication that makes me quite tired is suddenly I'm going to have a new lease of life, essentially.
Mm. Wow.
So although I've still got
Mm.
some operations and all that kind of thing to go, I feel like the 3 years or 3.5 years, the journey, like it's going to be the first time in my 40s where I will be out the other side and making a upwards trajectory rather than kind of like peaks and troughs. So I'm really, really
Wow.
excited about that. And
Awesome.
it feels like there's a sense of finality. Um, yeah, and I guess the rest of the year is just trying to get out there for and help as many people as possible.
Awesome.
You can't beat
Yeah.
seeing somebody step into their power. So
Great.
yeah.
Great. Great. Fantastic. I like to say when you walk with purpose, you collide with destiny.
Most
So,
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. That's
um, I really
It's been
appreciate you
so
taking
lovely
the time
talking
to
to you.
spend. Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed the conversation today. I hope we can catch up again sometime soon. I have some live events sometimes, so to stop
Oh,
by.
that would be really lovely. Yeah, I'm really, yeah, just keep me posted. It would be lovely to connect with other people of the same mindset.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, thanks so much, Frith. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. And have a fantastic
Fantastic. Thank
weekend.
you. And you.
Thanks. Bye.